there'll be different things going on like quests, competitions.
And to go back on what you said in terms of you see a boom, financial boom during the event, but it then goes back down as soon as the event is done. Can you tell us anything about the plans that you have to make that revenue more consistent? Is it more events? Is it other features that we don't yet know about? Or is it a no comment response, which is also okay?
No, it's more so. I mean, for those of you who've been around since like probably at least a year, you would have known some of the early builds of the game and how it kind of ran. It was much more arcadey because that was my original goal. Probably as the player base grew, some of my ideas and directions sort of changed for the game too. So I had to kind of build on that.
What would you do in terms of keeping the revenue more stable
Oh, right.
outside of events?
So yeah, talking about that early game, how small it was. Generally, the way that I have to build this. So normally when you build a game, they tend to call it a vertical slice. You'll create a vertical slice of the game, which is kind of like, oh yeah, this is mostly finished, top to bottom, and you can see all the finalized stuff. That's one way of building it. Another way is kind of like a reverse onion almost. So you kind of like you've got the inner layers and you just keep adding layers onto it, building it out. That's more kind of what I'm doing. And people are very critical and saying it's very basic and it's all that sort of stuff. It's like, well, yeah, that's because that's what I'm doing. I'm building and adding layers. So part of those layers is content. And at the moment, like the majority of the layers that I've been building have been more like base features. So, for example, you'll see the first thing I started with was dungeon themes, basic combat. All the weapons have basic stats. That's just simply to make sure that there's something that's playable, and that it's still mostly fun. And as long as the core gameplay loop is fun, then at least you know you've got something mostly successful. And then as you add layers, things like the skills have been added. So there's a couple of skills now, but it's like a small sampling of the skills. The same with the adventures. There's like the dungeons, and then there's outside areas in the forest. Um, More recently was added the Odenspire Sand, so like a desert theme. Some of you have probably seen the other interviews I've done have seen things like the beach theme and cave theme coming and that kind of thing. So those will be added in order to expand the content. New items will be dropping in those areas. I have quite a lot of items that don't drop at the moment, that will be coming in those stages. People are sort of saying, "Well, just drop them now." I'm like, I could, but it doesn't really make sense to have them drop in a dungeon like a crab or anything like that appear in a dungeon sort of thing. So really, it's about expanding that base, adding more layers, and then having these events every now and then. So, um, things like the Easter event and Halloween and then Christmas. And as maybe the team grows, or I'm able to, like I've already expanded that base and not creating new features, I can then add maybe some more events in there. There'll be different things going on like quests, competitions, and different things like that. So those are the things that will get added, but they'll get added over time, and that will help keep people interested. Arena,
Awesome.
for example, is one upcoming one.
Arena. That's okay. So that's a nice little teaser then.